What a good TV series that can pass the time in, let's say, 14 days. Taskmaster. It's on YouTube, and they upload episodes every Tuesday. Most series are only 5 episodes long, though the current one is at least on episode 7. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not sure if there are more to this season. It's an English show hosted by comedian Greg Davies, and I sort of describe it as a cross of Whose Line Is It Anyway and Impractical Jokers. Episode 2 of season 1 had me in tears at the tree wizard bit. Babylon 5. It's an older sci-fi show, but J. Michael Straczynski wrote a damn near perfect series with compelling characters and, overall, a planned 5-year arc, where what happens in the first season intentionally affects what happens in later seasons. Just watch all of The Good Place. It's a must-see show. If you have any time left over, I suggest JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you're into anime, Brooklyn 99, Bob's Burgers, and if you really want to waste a ton of time, there is a multitude of popular shonen anime, forgive me if I spell that wrong, that go on for what seems to be an infinite amount of time. Hell, One Piece is still going on to this day. Everybody says how depressing it is, but I find the concepts way too interesting to drop it, because it's kinda depressing. A lot of them are fucking depressing, or at least in concept. The one where the dude can recall any memory he wants and put it on the tail was really saddening. But the concepts get you thinking, and I watched all seasons in the span of probably 5 to 6 days. The thing with BoJack is that it has tons of secondary characters and plot lines to follow after a while. It's slightly heavy on the continuity, I guess you'd say. It's not as ridiculous as something like the Venture Brothers, but you do gotta pay attention to it. When I watched it, I found myself easily invested enough to continue on watching. It does have frequent subplots, but there's a relatively easy flow to it. All the subplots are also a great break from the disastrous life of BoJack. You on a coronavirus quarantine? That sucks, bruh. Also, Forensic Files. Get hella drunk and marathon Forensic Files. I travel a lot for work, and nothing passes hotel time quite like getting drunk and watching a bunch of Forensic Files. You'll thank me later. I like Forensic Files too. Do you not get paranoid while drunk watching it? I have never drank while watching it, but I know, after watching a good amount of episodes in one sitting, I have to stop, or I will start thinking of all the ways I might die. How has no one said Battlestar Galactica? It's like 5 seasons, 25 episodes/season and hour-long episodes. You could watch 8/day and that would take you 15 days. I even think there's an episode or mini-story arc when the ship is under quarantine, so it's be relevant to edit, and then watch Caprica. If for no other reason than to appreciate what is, in my opinion, the funniest and most overlooked joke on South Park. Randy slowly hauling his giant ball sack in a wheelbarrow, concernedly checking his watch before yelling, "Ah, man, I'm gonna miss Caprica," and then promptly speeding up. When I was deployed in Iraq, there was a point at the end of the deployment where we just lived in a tent for like a week with literally nothing to do. I watched Lost. Lost is an awesome show to binge too. Not having to wait months between seasons makes the show a lot easier to understand and appreciate. It remains my favorite of all time. I was in the hospital for the 10th anniversary of Breaking Bad's premiere, and AMC did a marathon. I think they played it about 10 hours a day, every day. It was pretty great. High on lauded, enjoying the roller coaster of Breaking Bad from start to finish. Nurses would linger in my room longer than usual because they got caught up watching it. It helped with the pain almost as much as the dope did. Well, to be fair, you could watch just about anything and enjoy it while high on lauded. That stuff is terribly amazing until the high fades off, at which point it becomes amazingly terrible. Unfortunately, these probably won't last you 2 weeks if you're sick. Last time I watched Band of Brothers, I did it in 2 days. It's so hard to resist just playing the next episode. Also, after loving Band of Brothers, since the premiere I just got around to watching The Pacific this year. It was really good. but it wasn't as good as Brothers. Maybe it's because I have a nostalgia for Brothers, or because I watched it first. I don't know. I feel like I know Easy Company. Like they're my family. Though after watching Mr. Robot, seeing Rami in Pacific was a real treat. Season 15 is its last season. I don't know what I'm going to do when it's off the air. Feels like a part of my childhood. 15 years I've been invested into every episode every single week. The writing is meh, but the acting and overall tone and feeling to the show keeps me coming back. If you really only have 2 weeks and don't want to watch all of its season 1 to 5 are classics. Season 5 was intended to be the final season, so it wraps up every plot point very well, and that's when the original writer leaves the show. The other seasons are great, are hilarious, but sometimes feels like they're spinning their wheels and not building to something like the earlier seasons. Bones, there's over 100 episodes. You'll be all good at hooked after the first 2 to 3 episodes. Been a while since I watched that show, but I remember the episode where Agent Booth has a crisis of conscience because it is revealed that he is related to John Wilkes Booth. I guess one of the writers finally realized they shared the same last name or something. I just thought it was funny because the tension in the episode stems from the fact that Agent Booth is worried that he might turn into a cold-blooded murderer because one of his distant relatives shot a president. Person of interest, if you like rogue sleeper agents. This, but with a huge disclaimer. A lot of people, myself included, have a hard time getting through the first season. It starts great, it falls into a kind of bland routine, and then the end of the season is *outstanding*. From there on out it gets better, and better, and better, right to the end. If you're unfamiliar with the show, try to go in completely blind. It's a wonderful ride. True Detective, because I haven't seen it mentioned yet. Anthology series, 8 episodes per season, 3 seasons so far. Season 1 in particular is fantastic, seriously one of the best seasons of TV I have ever seen. Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are magnificent, the story is brilliantly paced, and special mention to the directing from Kari Fukunaga, who also directed Beasts of No Nation and the forthcoming Bond movie, which is excellent throughout. That shot in particular, as anyone who has seen the show will appreciate. Season 2 is better on the rewatch. It's still good, but the story is much more dense than season 1, and not always to the benefit of the narrative. But when you watch it through a second time and have more time to notice the details, it grows in stature. Vince Vaughn remains awful, I'm afraid. Season 3 is, for the most part, a strong return to form. Mahershala Ali rightly earned lots of plaudits for his portrayal of a main character through 3 different time frames, but special mention to Stephen Dorff and Scoot McNairy, who both absolutely kill their respective roles too. Buffy should not be this low. Spiteful upvote. Absolutely the most artful and beautiful television writing of all time. It's a shame some people won't experience it, just because it's a genre thing that turns some people off. My girlfriend is binging it right now, and I periodically join her for an episode, and I'm blown away by how carefully constructed each season is, and how deftly it handles the most complex emotions and conflicts. It gets really good starting in season 4, and just gets better every season after. Don't listen to the haters who think it goes downhill. The entire thing is watchable, except a handful of clunker episodes, which is an amazing run. It succeeds because it is most of all a show about character interactions, not necessarily about plot, so even an episode with a bad plot will reinforce relationships. The 100 and Arrow can work in 14 days, depending on how much you watch. 100 would be like 7 eps a day and Arrow like 11 or 12, so you gotta watch a lot. For less episodes Lucifer works, and so does you, if you were to watch 1 ep a day. Just some of my favorites. We've been watching Gargoyles on Disney Plus. I highly recommend it. I forget a lot of the time it's a Disney cartoon, until a random Disney reference pops up. IDK if it'll last you 2 weeks, but there's a lot of episodes. We are about a quarter of the way through season 2. Taskmaster. It's a TV show in the but is now putting out full YouTube videos of the shows. It's British humor and has 5 comedians doing interesting and silly tasks assigned by the taskmaster and his assistant, and they compete against each other blindly. Tasks are outrageous, like slide the furthest, you have 10 minutes, or fit this stuffed animal through the smallest gap. It is hilarious seeing how comedians each think differently to solve these outrageous problems. This isn't exactly TV, but it is a podcast to get hooked on easily. Critical Role. It's a really good Dungeons and Dragons podcast put on by professional voice actors. People on the show have done the voices of Ellie from Last of Us, MJ from Spider-Man 2018, McCree from Overwatch and so much more. It's very good, especially after the first episodes, when the show became popular and got more money for production design. Good cartoon is Young Justice. It's a bit shorter, but it's a very good EC animated show that explores side characters very well. It's also surprisingly dark, especially season 2 onwards. Hawaii 5-0 is a kind of cheesy, but still good cop show. The Mentalist is good too. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.